Welcome back. Time for The Fix, the Politics Fix with the National Journal's Ron Brownstein and, of course, David Gregory, moderator of Meet the Press, with an exclusive interview with the Secretary of State, Hillary Clinton, scheduled for this Sunday. That's going to be big time. I dare not ask you what you might ask her, because that's always part of the intrigue of turning it on Sunday morning. But a couple things come to mind. I've heard from one of our colleagues that there might be a little bit of a distance between the president and his Secretary of State. Now, I want to ask you, did he intend her to say to the Prime Minister of Israel that his steps in saying we're going to cut the growth of the settlements on the West Bank but continue to grow some of the housing in the city of Jerusalem, as they define it, as unprecedented, and sort of saluting him for that? Some people believe that started a real problem with the Arab side. They believe we're being too congratulatory to Bibi Netanyahu, and that was off base. Is that the reading of foreign officials, that Hillary Clinton might be a little bit off base now from Barack Obama?
Well, it's not clear just how far off base or whether that was indeed intended. Look, I mean, I think that's murky. I think these are important questions that have to be asked of the Secretary of State. But there's no question, from the Arab point of view, it all comes back to settlements as to whether there's going to be a peace process. And so that's where the action is. So those kinds of statements are things that cause that kind of flare.
The other one was the statement by, and very strong, and a lot of people liked it. I liked hearing it, too, where she directed her attack right at the Pakistan government and said, you people are basically lying. You're hiding the terrorists who went after us on 9/11, including perhaps Osama bin Laden, and you're doing it deliberately. It was an amazing sort of attack to an ally. Was that administration policy, or was she a bit beyond her brief there?
This was the question always from the beginning. She was going because she has such a spotlight on her. Any vibration that is in a different direction from the administration is watched so closely. I do not believe that she is getting out on her own on either of those fronts.
Is that the feeling of people like Rahm Emanuel in the White House?
I can't speak for Rahm, but I think the general feeling is that, you know, if nothing else, it is an orchestrated kind of alternation of tone from different directions of the administration, rather than that she is out kind of freelancing. I think she has made very clear that her intent is to be a team player for this president.
The question now, David, and you have to figure this out, of course, when you interview her, is what is the team?
Yeah.
Because you've got her in one position, Gates with her, apparently on a more hawkish line on Afghanistan. You've got Mullins, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs, and you have, who am I missing here? Jones, the National Security Advisor, all in the more hawkish position. On the other side, the Vice President, Joe Biden, for a smaller footprint over there. And now he's joined by the current ambassador, and this is the great irony, who works and reports for Hillary Clinton, who says don't increase the troop capacity complement. So how are you going to find out what the policy is?
Everything that I'm told is that there has been a laser-like focus in these debates about what the end game is. If you're going to have a maximalist approach,
40,000 more.
Yeah, who are we going to turn it over to? Do we have a real partner there? And what's the end date? Also, the economy is a huge factor in these debates in a way that it hasn't been before, was not in the Iraq War. How are we going to pay for this? If we're going to be there another 4 or 8 years, who's going to pay for it? And I think these are part of it. And because this question that is still unresolved of whether as a central government that's a real partner, adding more troops, securing which part of the country and for how long are huge issues.
You know, is Hillary Clinton able, as Secretary of State, to say she's for a counterterrorism policy as opposed to a counterinsurgency policy? Can she give you that kind of definition this Sunday?
Well, I hope so. But we do know a couple of things. We know that she campaigned along with this president by saying that we didn't properly resource the right war, the Afghanistan war. Okay, so if you take that, then you perhaps are for more troops. The other piece of it is they never really pursued the kind of counterinsurgency program along the lines of what was done in Iraq. So, I mean, that's where the military is coming from, saying, look, if you want to build all of this up, we need the time, we need the resources. You know, if that's what the mission is.
David raised a very good point. It's the first time I've heard someone raise, even as a journalist, the question, wars cost money. At some point, there's a cost-benefit analysis you have to make. Can we afford a long-term commitment which comes with a counterinsurgency policy?
What makes this so difficult, I think, is that we have an independent national security interest, regardless of what we think of Karzai and how he is performing. Our interest is preventing a radical government from taking control of Afghanistan again and using it as a base, allowing Al-Qaeda to use it as a base for fomenting attacks against us. So in some ways we are boxed in. We are limited. Even if we disapprove of the way he is handling his government, we have our own independent interests. My guess is that Hillary Clinton is very much, remember Tony Blair first ran in 1997, he said he was going to be tough on crime, tough on the causes of crime. Hillary Clinton, I think, is very much going to be in that same mode. She's going to be tough on Karzai, but also tough on the underlying challenge that we face. And I think that, you know, if you look at where the Obama administration administration is going. All indications are he's trying to focus as much on the exit ramp as the entry, and also to look at how do you, and we talked about this before, how do you define this in the narrowest way that is sustainable that we can go forward and try to achieve.
Thank you. In there, Ron Brownstein. We'll be right back with David Gregory. We're back with David Gregory and Ron Brownstein for more of the Politics Fix. And the latest news bulletin just out now, former Democratic Congressman William Jefferson of Louisiana has been sentenced to 13 years in prison for bribery and racketeering. Jefferson's the congressman who had $90,000 in cash hidden in his freezer. I guess he's guilty.
Indirect progenitor of the one Republican vote for health care reform in the House.
That's right. His replacement is voted for. Let me ask you about the Sarah Palin phenomenon. We can only judge these things fairly, like a month at a time. This book's big time. This promotion, I've never seen anything like it, David.
It's extraordinary. And, I mean, she's extraordinary from that point of view. Not just the book. I mean, all this year, it's as if she's like a senator or something. I mean, she issues statements and posts things on Facebook as if she's an incumbent or if she's a candidate for something.
She's got a position on the health care bill.
She's got a position on health care. She's got a position on education. She's endorsing candidates in upstate New York. She is a player. The question is, does she represent that leading edge of the conservative movement in the midterm election? Or is she positioning herself just to be a very, interesting, successful
I know a really good political expert. We can ask that. Ron?
Yeah. Well,
you analyze the numbers a lot in the Republican Party. Does she have a chunk with the evangelical wing, with the outsider point of view? Can she beat the insider like Mitt Romney?
There's no question she has a substantial floor. The question is, what is her ceiling? I mean, right now she is such a...
What's her floor, 30%?
It's large. I mean, there's a portion of the party that, in polling clearly is interested in her. She is such a visible figure, though, because right now she really straddles the crossroads between politics and celebrity. And to some extent, I've said many times, I think the greatest risk to her is that she is seen more as a celebrity than as a political leader. And this book does kind of take her in that direction. I mean, she is, she seems to be involved for a candidate who has come almost out of nowhere and has really kind of embodied the American dream and how quickly she's ascended. She has a lot of grudges. She has a lot of fights,
she's smart,
a lot of
arguments. To go after people that they're not big shots. I mean, Katie Curry's a big shot in the media, but not a big shot in terms of running the country. Is she smart to pick fights with Charlie Gibson, Katie Couric, people like
on the
Nicole
campaign.
Wallace, Steve Schmidt?
I think there's a difference. Going after the media is, I mean, how do you lose with that? I mean, but but I don't know. But I don't think it makes sense to try to settle those scores. What Ron is getting to, I think, is the most important point. 60% of people in the exit poll said that she wouldn't qualify
as president
to be vice president, right?
To be president. Yeah,
to be
qualified to be president.
She wasn't qualified. So what is she doing to clear that hurdle if she does want to run for office? Is there anything in this book that is laying out a vision for government, a worldview? Is this dreams of my father? I don't know. It doesn't seem. It seems like it's more toward, grudges.
Can she staff up and just hire people to do that for her?
Well, I think, look, ultimately people make the judgment of you personally, and in some ways you never get the second chance to make the first impression. And I think, like Dan Quayle, she will have a hard time ever entirely undoing the judgments that were made about her in 2008. But she is a force in the, I agree, she is a force in the Republican Party, and she's going to continue to be one, and one who has an incentive to constantly pick fight with the insiders and define herself as the outsider.
In a room of boring men, she gets noticed. Thank you.